I'm at Hertz, Jeremy, at the airport. Now hang on for a second, because I want to show you something. You know? I'm into comedy skits, you know. But let's just have a look at this. CX-5. Now, my instructions, I don't know cars, I will admit that. A CX-5 does a Camry not make, I think, you know. I'm about to take off for my jog, actually. I'm jogging back to Essendon. I haven't even checked how far it is yet. Whatever it is, that's how tough I am. Yeah, I'm going to end up with guns on my legs, like Callum's got guns. No, that's not going to work. Right, now here's the thing. Darren, his instructions to me were to, Damien, I forgot I had a hire car and I've caught a taxi, and just go to the Hyatt. I'm amazed he remembered what hotel he was in. It's a white Camry. Now, is a CRX a Camry? I don't know cars. If it's not, Jeremy, you know, I think Darren might have cut our lunch. I'll just pull over here for a second and explain and lean against this fence. Because, now, I suspect you've dabbled a little bit, Jeremy. Yeah, I'm doing a comedy skit here. I suspect you might have dabbled a little bit in Zen Buddhism or something like that. Or, you know, any sort of such, you know, stuff. I know I have, and I've never got there. I think Darren might have arrived. Or if he hasn't arrived, he's getting close. You know, because if you achieve some sort of detachment from your physical environment, you're getting there. And I think Darren's almost there. You know, he may well be cutting our lunch, Gem. Now, here's what I'm thinking. Some people do this, you know, and I'm thinking of Tristan and Isolde, a Wagner opera I've been listening to. I call him Wagner. Richard. Tristan and Isolde achieved the detachment from their physical environment. What those two guys did, they were lovers, and they were so deeply in love that they swallowed themselves up into their inner worlds, into their inner universes. It's one of my favourite subjects, this whole business of, you know, how much time do you spend in the physical environment, in an airport somewhere, and how much time should you, you know, what's the right balance, you know? How much time should you spend in your inner universe? Now, some of it's a gimme, you know, because when you're sleeping, you take yourself into your inner universe via dreams and so on. You know? And I've often thought that if you dream about somebody, if somebody appears in your dreams, if you drop in and visit one of your mates in your dreams, that is a massive compliment. That's a whole extra layer of compliment. Because if in your dreams someone is on your mind enough to actually appear in your dream, that is huge. You know, that outranks, in my opinion, in some ways, actually visiting the person. Not quite, because the other person doesn't get the benefit of your presence, you know, which may not be welcome anyway. So it could be a double compliment. Number one, you don't bug the person by visiting the person, but you visit them in your dreams and they're on your mind, and that's a huge compliment. It's a form of reality, blah, blah, blah. Right, now Tristan and Isolde were so in love with each other that they became physically detached from their universe. I didn't want to say physical universe just then, because it would have been a kind of tautology, because I'd already said they'd become physically detached from what? Oh, the physical universe. You know. But anyway, Darren might be getting there. It's that thing, Bon Scott got there on one famous evening. He was in Paris, but he didn't know he was in Paris because he'd had too much red wine the night before after a gig. And woke up in a red wine haze and threw open the doors. For all he knew, he was in Melbourne. Yeah. And he threw open the doors and he was in Paris and bang! I can't describe the impact. I was there. It was just before he died. I was there. And no, but here's the bit that's true. He opened the door, the bifolds, whatever, and he was checked into a plush place. Unsurprising, because he's Bon Scott, at the height of his fame, just about to drop dead in a car on a freezing night in London. But right before him, he's on a balcony. Oh, a balcony. But that wasn't the big thing. The big thing was there was the Eiffel Tower right in front of him. And his famous words from that moment were, "Oh, whew, they've got one of those in Paris." That's good. That's good detachment, you know. Let me think. I can imagine Michael, have you been in that situation where you've been in a hotel room somewhere in the world and you've woken up and you're not quite sure where you are? Rio. I'm sure I'm in Rio. You open the door and Lagos? This looks like Lagos. What? But it's a form of detachment. Because the stuff that's going on in your life, whether it be business or rock and roll in Bon Scott Place, or getting into yourself, like Tristan and Isolde, who were probably the Harry and Meghan of their times. So in love that they folded in on themselves. Someone described, they're doing this Netflix series at the moment, which I won't be watching, but I've been told that's, the BBC described that last night. I saw it on the news as a love letter to themselves. Beautiful. Now, Tristan and Isolde, they look, it's a real question, to lead a full life. Should you be operating entirely within your physical universe and sacrificing that inner world that you could also be occupying? Should you be doing that? But there's a heavy price to pay if you're doing that. And the sort of person who might do that might be the activist, where you're constant, you're being a Greta Thunberg. I should be in school, how dare you, and all that. Now, she seems to be, maybe, is it a form of autism or whatever? I don't know. But she seems to be swallowed up into the imperatives that are the physical universe. She is obsessed with the environment. She's in, I feel that she's detached, perhaps a little. Well, she won't be entirely from her inner world, out of respect for the physical environment, which she assumes exists. Now, this is interesting, I think. It's a heavy price. If she is, that's a heavy price to pay. Because she could be retreating into her inner universe, which, for all we know, God put us here to explore. And yet, she is devoting her life to the physical, the needs of the physical universe. Does that take away from time well spent in her inner world, in which she could be becoming a little bit more Zen Buddhist, and putting that aside? But then again, if you go the other way and you retreat into your inner world, like Tristan and Isolde did, Now, that's a beautiful story, just like Harry and Meghan is a beautiful story. It's this business of where you retreat into your inner universe, you sit under a tree for 40 days and contemplate your navel, but you're not doing anything about world hunger at that time. But is it evil, If you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem and all that sort of stuff. Well, people who achieve a state of grace, of Zen Buddhism, whatever you might call it, perfect detachment from the physical universe, there's a heavy price to pay there too, I think. And that heavy price to pay is you can become evil because you're not doing anything about the environment. You're not doing anything about whatever. World hunger, indigenous rights, animal rights, anything, And yet, sometimes you sort of think anyone who has achieved that state of grace has done something really beautiful, and yet something evil. There's a heavy price to pay either way. Maybe you could try and do both, and I think we all do both. Because even Greta Thunberg must have dreams at night when she falls asleep. Maybe she's dreaming about the next speech she's going to give, in which case she's lost. She's lost. But look, I get to thinking, where do you want to sit? How much do you want to engage with or connect with the stuff that's going around with you? If you connect fully with all the crap that's going on in the world at any given time in history, and everyone seems to say that this is the worst time in history, the planet is on the edge of doom, all that sort of stuff. This is the most anxious period in history. I think it was pretty anxious during the Holocaust. It was pretty anxious, I think, during, if you were in this city I know of called Avaricum, being besieged by Julius Caesar, back in the day, back just before Jesus' time, and you'd built a wall around yourself, and Julius Caesar was besieging you, and you knew that you were about to die. Everyone you knew, your entire community, everyone you loved was about to die horribly. Your pets, the children, the babies, the lot. I don't know. Is this the worst of times ever? I'm not quite sure. Is this the most anxious of times? I'm not even sure of that. Because this is the only time I know, really. Social media, makes things go really bad and all that sort of stuff. Social media, cancels people and things go viral. The whole world is suddenly jumping on someone's case because she said something wrong. But people jumped on people's cases even before social media. Lindy Chamberlain, there wasn't a person in Australia that wasn't talking about that. That swept the world. And I've got other examples too. Everyone says, the Arab Spring, because we had the Arab Spring not too long ago. Some bloke burned himself, set himself on fire in Tunisia, and then and that became the spark which toppled dictators right across the Middle East, right across North Africa and the Middle East, swept across the whole area, and Mubarak and all these other guys and Gaddafi and all these sorts of people got toppled, and it was called the Arab Spring, and everyone said, wow, that was social media driven, that could never happen in the old days. And yet, there was one in the 1800s, the Prague Spring, and the same thing happened. And that swept Europe too. Revolutions, 1848 I think it was, or whatever it was. And that swept Europe in no time. That might have swept, that might have been a firestorm that engulfed Europe faster than the Arab Spring recently engulfed the other joint, the Middle East and North Africa and the Arab world. But it's a very difficult moral question. I think I've gotten right off track here. I wasn't intending to speak this long, but that often happens with me. G'day. That bloke's looking at himself. They're talking about me. All right, I don't care. Yeah. Anyway, I forgot what I was talking about then because the lady gave me a funny look. Well, I better get on my job. I didn't mean to talk this long. What was I talking about? I got off track. I'll bring it back. Okay. But it all ends up a question of, I think, should you be a Greta Thunberg or should you be a Tristan and Isolde? Where lies, is it evil to detach to a certain entirely? Entirely? What if it's involuntary? It seems like Tristan and Isolde, they detached involuntarily. They fell into their inner worlds. They detached from their physical environment so much that they were just desperate to die, but not for any bad reason. There was a wonderful. They wanted to die as quickly as possible so they could begin their life together in their eternal world, and live together forever. Why would you want to stay if you're already detached from it? And this is meaningless. It's meaningless. All of this, this metal grate I'm leaning on and all that sort of stuff. This has nice jumper, nice top. 20 years old. It's desperate times. 2000. All this. The t-shirt, the lot, right through this episode, none of it is relevant. None of it is relevant to what really matters. The real reality of the story I want to tell here when I got onto this thing was the story about how my cousin didn't even know what car he was in because he'd achieved a state of grace of some sort and it wasn't relevant. Here's the thing: it's not relevant, If you're operating on a higher plane, I think that's what it is. And it's a form of evil if you do that all the way through, because then you're so. And it's a form of evil. I've to a certain extent embraced myself, because when I'm blithely and when I enjoy operating in my inner world, I can tell you, there's more people passing here, so I'll just let that happen this time. I don't need to connect. These people don't even exist. From the perspective of what I'm trying to say here, this thing I'm leaning on doesn't exist. I'm not even leaning on it. I don't even exist. Blah blah blah. You do all that. That's a Zen Buddhism thing. I've taken this too far. Where I've been, and where I'm going. I don't even need to finish this. This episode, which it now is an episode, can end with a whimper, not a bang, because I don't need to form a conclusion to this episode. For about 14 minutes, you've well known where I was going. And I could wrap it all up with a pithy sort of finale and say, like something like, and so, in conclusion, Darren, you've only got one step to go. Next time, forget what hotel you were in, and you will have achieved a state of grace. You will have cut Jeremy's lunch and my lunch, and you will have achieved Zen Buddhism. Beautiful, beautiful thing.